The United States has criticized the record-breaking 7th missile launch in a month by North Korea. Ramping up the firepower, Pyongyang tested its most powerful missile since 2017. Washington is concerned the escalating missile test could lead to resumed tests of nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Amid worries, a senior U.S. official has urged Pyongyang to join direct talks with no preconditions. The official said that the latest test was part of an increasingly destabilizing pattern in violation of UNSC resolutions. In what is seen as a step closer to resuming long-range testing, North Korea sent an intermediate-range ballistic missile soaring into space. According to state news agency KCNA, a Hwasong-12 intermediate-range ballistic missile, or IRBM, was tested. North Korea has previously said that the Hwasong-12 can carry a large-size, heavy nuclear warhead. The missile is estimated to have reached an altitude of 2,000 kilometers. The test warhead was fitted with a camera that took photos while it was in space. Pictures released by state media showed space-based images of North Korea and the surrounding areas. North Korea first took such pictures back in 2017. South Korea's National Security Council, the NSC, convened a rare emergency meet presided over by President Moon Jae-in. NSC said that the test appeared to involve an IRBM, which North Korea has not tested since 2017. Moon noted that this month's flurry of missile tests was reminiscent of the heightened tensions back in 2017. That was when North Korea conducted multiple nuclear tests. Seoul has warned nuclear and long-range tests could be next, and that Pyongyang could be closer to fully scrapping a self-imposed moratorium. The moratorium announced back in 2018. It included a stop on testing its longest-range ICBMs and nuclear weapons tests. Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has said he is no longer bound by that moratorium. It is unclear if IRBMs were included in Kim's moratorium, but those two, they've not been tested since 2017. North Korea's ruler had earlier suggested that they could start retesting their activities. They said that the United States and its allies have had shown no sign of dropping their hostile policies. Pyongyang has conducted 7 weapons tests in January. These include hypersonic missile tests, highlight the nuclear-armed states' rapidly expanding and advancing arsenal. From hypersonic missiles and long-range missile cruise missiles to missiles launched from rail cars and airports, the tests have been one of the most intense barrages on record. Under President Joe Biden, Washington has repeatedly sought talks with North Korea, but those have been rebuffed. Despite urging dialogue, Washington has maintained sanctions on North Korea. Following the recent tests, more sanctions have been imposed. The United States has sought to encourage the UN Security Council now to follow suit. And for more on this, WION correspondent Phoebe Amoroso is joining us live from Tokyo. Phoebe, thank you so much for joining us. A 7th test by North Korea. There are heightened concerns that North Korea could soon resume testing nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles. What can you tell us about these latest launch?
Well, the latest launch certainly is raising concerns that it's edging closer to breaking that moratorium on intercontinental ballistic missiles and also nuclear tests. In fact, some analysts would say that this is already showing signs that it has completely scrapped that. So this latest missile is much longer range than the previous 6 launches we saw this month, flying around 800 kilometers, reaching a maximum altitude of around 2,000 kilometers. North Korean state media has said that it was deliberately launched at a high angle in order to protect the surrounding nation's security. Right. And that they managed to take photos, as we've all seen from space, of the launch. Right. However, it does seem that the North is very keen to keep upping the pace of testing. And the big question is, what will be the response from the United States and from other countries?
Right, Phoebe. Now, the United States has urged North Korea to join direct talks without any preconditions. North Korea hasn't shown any willingness even in the past. What can you tell us about the prospects of the same?
Well, the United States, yes, as you said, is urging Pyongyang to come to talks, and it says that it has also conducted a review of its policy towards North Korea, but we're not entirely sure what that's going to involve. A US official has said that the response that the US will give in the next few days will be involving showing support of its allies and also deploying a very particular kind of diplomacy. However, will Pyongyang come to the talks? And this really depends on what are Pyongyang's motives in this, because some observers say that yes, it is flexing muscles, it is trying to attract the attention of the US. There are also a huge amount of practical element of practically testing their technical capabilities. And it's important to remember that also it's a very important year for political anniversaries in North Korea. So there could be some kind of approach in which they're trying to shore up national pride. However, it's worth noting that North Korea's economy is really suffering. That's partly due to US-led sanctions, but also very strict restrictions imposed on imports due to the pandemic. So it may be that it's wanting some kind of negotiations with the US on that front. However, on the flip side, it could also be a chance to show the US that it is going to become a nuclear power. It does have these missiles, it does have these weapons. And previously, the approach has been very much that denuclearization for aid. But North Korea could be flipping that narrative to try and get the US to talk about mutual disarmament. Whether that will work or be the case, it still remains to be seen. But there are many different theories as to what exactly Pyongyang is aiming for.
All right. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, South Korean President Moon Jae-in noted that these latest launches were reminiscent of the heightened tensions back in 2017. What do you think has triggered these back-to-back test launches and scrapping of North Korea's self-imposed moratorium that was imposed on in 2018?
Sorry, I didn't fully catch your question, but in terms of the launches back in 2017, we saw 6 launches of this type of missile, and 2 of those actually did fly across Hokkaido in the north of Japan, so I'm here from Tokyo. And so when it comes to the repeated launches, this time round, it's very much showing a much greater versatility of weapons technical capabilities. So earlier this month, we did see, for example, Pyongyang testing hypersonic missiles. So really the message is that it is stepping up its technical capabilities. But as I mentioned, does it want the US to come to talks? There is also a theory that it is entering an arms race with South Korea, and that could really create tensions much higher within the region. But at the moment, it really depends on the United States' response in the next few days and whether Pyongyang will continue its tests. There is one event that's worth looking out for, in that the Beijing Olympics are kicking off this week. And China is a kind of ally to North Korea. So some observers are saying that it's unlikely that Pyongyang will do any kind of major test during that period, as it's unlikely to want to alienate China. However, there remains a lot of uncertainties, and it doesn't look like tensions are going to go away without some kind of talks and some kind of discussions going forward.
All right, Phoebe, thank you so much for joining us with all your inputs on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.